Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we saved the best till last.
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay, what are some things that you've done a complete change on in the last 10 years in regards to training, Jack, and nutrition, Mac? And what made you come to those conclusions? Xavier, first time caller, long time listener. Xavier, I freaking love you.
We need more questions every week.
Every week.
We want one.
Okay, you go first. What's something that you have changed in the last 10 years? I don't think I've been training for 10 years.
Everything.
I definitely haven't.
10 years ago, I would have been, 26? Just opened Primal.
Whoa.
Just before opening Primal. So, look, I've pretty much changed my mind on everything. So, I guess 10 years ago, I was a lot more, if I was doing HIIT training, I'm like, HIIT training is the best. Everybody needs to stop what you're doing, put down those weights, come do HIIT training because it's the best. And, I would have been die hard on those certain things. Or, if I was fasting, I would have been like, fasting, stop eating in the morning, fast. So that would have just been my mindset back then, when now I'm just a little bit more, try it and see what happens. Everything works. Everything doesn't work. So I think I've just changed my mind on how I approach things. I guess that's not just training, but just life in general as well. Just trying to think of an actual thing that I've changed my mind on.
What about obviously HIIT training. Like why? Why did you change your mind on HIIT training? Because it wasn't 10 years ago when I met you, but 6 years ago, you were a lot more CrossFit, cardio focused, and fasting focused. You had a lot of weird beliefs, and I don't even know why you believed that you had to do the things that you did, but you did.
Someone cool told me it was good, so I was
probably
cool
Tim Ferriss.
Probably.
Yeah, but why? Like, do you have any recollection of what made you change your mind, or you think it's all just a gradual change, more education?
Yeah, both. So obviously I've changed my mind on HIIT training, like in particular CrossFit. It's just, I don't think it's an optimal way. CrossFit, as in training every modality, is really good for you. I just don't think I was doing it right, so I ended up in a lot of pain, had all sorts of issues going on, but just enjoyed it, so I pushed through, which made it even worse. So it's like now I've learnt the hard way not to do that through pain, I guess you could say. I did post for this to get a few of these questions on my social media of me doing a snatch, and it's funny, like I had wrist wraps, knee wraps, this, that, all these things just so I could perform in the exercise.
Remember the elaborate gym bag we used to have?
Yeah.
We would have a gym bag full of all the accessories to go to CrossFit because you needed honestly like 8 different accessories just to do a workout.
Yeah, you needed the massage ball, the Theraguns, the Hypes pack, heat pack, hand grip, because
skipping rope,
because you'd rip your hand apart,
yeah,
all that sort of stuff. Again, good fun, but I've just learnt that that's not a good way to train long term and for longevity. If I kept doing that by now, I'd probably need a shoulder reconstruction or something like that.
Yeah.
So just things like that. I guess Olympic lifting, I have changed my mind on as well. I love Olympic lifting. A lot of people hate it and think it's bad and people shouldn't do it, but it's good fun. I just don't think it should be done at high intensity like we were doing in CrossFit. Doing it as it should be doing, weightlifting style, really good. It's a good overall body movement, good for power production, good for mind-body connection, cognitive, like everything. They're really good for you, but it's just low intensity. And
focusing on like the technique and the movement pattern, right?
Moving the barbell properly rather than moving it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
One thing I've spoken about this on the podcast before about CrossFit just got me in a bad habit of finishing the rep too soon because it's just about getting the reps done. And it's not a good way to build muscle or hypertrophy, longevity of joints and all that sort of stuff. And so now, I'll finish my last rep of, if I'm doing 10 reps and I'm like my 9th and 10th rep is super slow, super controlled, I make sure I start and finish in the same position, where CrossFit was just like last rep's done, drop the barbell, run away type thing. So that obviously that's changed. Don't know. Training. I sort of I don't think yoga and all that sort of stuff's bad, but I do think if you weightlift properly, you can get some benefits, like, you know, lift and move weights properly. You can get some benefits from yoga that, you know, that you don't really need to do it every single day to increase your flexibility and mobility. Yoga's good. Since with our last guest last week, I have been doing it every morning.
That's true.
Just not much. So I have been doing it, but it's like I don't believe you have to, you know, do yoga to increase your flexibility and mobility. If you just lift weights properly and move properly under load, you can get the same results.
I think yoga, I mean, yeah, sure, it's good for mobility and flexibility, but I think yoga is, if you were to do it as a daily practice, I think you should do it more, this is my personal opinion, but more from the perspective of like connecting your mind with your body.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yep. I think it's good for that, but, you know, usually when people want to increase their flexibility, they go, I have to do yoga.
Yeah,
it's like,
true.
well, no. Lift weights properly and you'll probably get better results, faster results as well. Nutrition?
Honestly, 10 years ago, I was 17 and I hadn't even considered my nutrition yet. Wait, was I? That's crazy. 17. I only started working out and considering that food even played a role in my life and how I felt maybe when I was 21, so 6 years ago.
Still a lot sooner than most people.
True. So since then, I guess since studying nutrition and starting, the thing I think at the beginning that I was like, I somehow became basically religious about was that dairy and wheat were bad. Remember how much of a stickler I was for that in the beginning? To be fair, in my defense, I had a lot of gut issues and I did have to cut them out for a while. But I think in the beginning, I was like, no one should have dairy or wheat or processed foods or sugar. Like, I was crazy with it, right? When I first started, it's like I went from eating KFC, McDonald's, binge drinking, partying, all of the bad things, to the complete opposite at the beginning, which was only eat vegetables and meat. And I thought that that's what everyone should do, and this was the only way to do nutrition. Like, just eat completely clean. Clean is the word. I was such a stickler for clean eating. It was insane. And I think it affected my quality of life a lot because I wouldn't go to things. I wouldn't go to events. I wouldn't go out with people. I wouldn't go to like parties anymore because I didn't want to not be clean. But yeah, I think that being sick made me think that, and when I cut out dairy and wheat and all the sugar and stuff and I got better, I was like, whoa, this is what's wrong with the world, but not necessarily. It's just that I overdid it. Like, I overdid the shitty processed food, the alcohol, the drugs, and that made me sick. Whereas if I was just a normal person and had like a small amount, then it would have been fine. But I think that's what I've changed my mindset on now, is like, you can still have what's not clean food. Like, food shouldn't be labeled as clean or unclean. You should be able to eat everything. We do eat everything now, because like, food is life, right? What's the point of life if you can't enjoy food, especially with people, and as an experience? So I think that's probably the biggest change that I had. How I got to that, I'm not really sure. I think I slowly just started getting more educated and getting out of like the crazy bubble on the internet, like the bubble of, you know how there's like women on the internet that are like clean or death, pretty much, like clean eating, clean lifestyle, or die. I just sort of got out of that bubble and saw that you could be in shape and you could be healthy and have nice skin, hair, nails, etc., and still have like a croissant every now and then, or go out for a beer with friends. Like, I just started seeing that was realistic as well. And to be honest, in the last 6 years, I feel like social media has had a very big impact on my beliefs. Like, if I follow people that believe one thing, then I am more inclined to also believe that. Whereas if I follow people that are like, you shouldn't have to pick a camp, then I'm like, oh wow, camps are just made up. Like, does that make sense?
But isn't that like the natural arc of everybody? Like somebody starts something, they start to get results, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the best. I'm getting results. Everybody come and do this because I'm like, I got results. You're going to get results."
Yeah.
And that's not always the case, but like obviously I was the same as well. Like, but it's just time and self-knowledge and education that you realise, well, there's a lot of ways you can get results. It's just calm down, and not everybody has to do this one thing.
Yeah.
But I guess in that first initial, like, big one is when people go cut out, they go vegan and they only eat plants and all that sort of stuff. You're cutting out a lot of bad stuff, and obviously you're going to get a lot healthier. You're going to, feel better, have more energy, all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's being vegan is. But if you do that, you get results. But then, you start telling everybody, come do this, and then people start noticing your results, and you help people get those results doing what you're doing, and then it's just like a big. And then it's hard to get out of that bubble because that's your thing, and you've got to keep doing that thing.
It's the label. Labels are satisfying and they're easy to explain. And that's why things like V-shred and vegan and paleo and fasting, that's why things like that sell, and that's why they go viral, because they're easy to explain, and it's just like a little box. Everything fits in a nice tiny little package, and it's easy to present to the world as this is the answer. And we just want things to be simple, and we want things to be the answer. But I feel like us, through the business, have figured out, like with working with a bunch of people, there is no pretty neat little box. Everyone is so vastly different. Not one thing that you do with one client is going to suit another client, ever. And I feel like that's what also makes it hard to sell, like, us as coaching, because we can't put this little thing in a neat little box and say, here, if you come with me and we get rid of all the dairy and wheat and we just do HIIT training, you'll look like this, because it doesn't work like that.
Little side note, it's funny, like, so Lane Norton's brought out a new book or something, and he's just doing a heap of different podcasts and a lot of different content, and he was just reading through a study that's been done on protein or something about longevity and this sort of stuff. And then, like, Lane's not necessarily pro-meat or, pro-vegan. He's just like, this is a result. So he's like, eat meat, it's good for you. And then this vegan influencer was almost like debunking his review of the study. So he went through the study, and he's found a completely, like, you just had two different scientists, there are scientists, talking about the same study with two different conclusions. Yeah. And it's just like, I've found both opinions very intriguing and very good, and I accept both of them. But it's just good to see, like, one is sort of a meat eater and one's a, like, non-meat eater, and they read the same study but got the two different outcomes from it. Because everything is up to interpretation, right? Exactly. And, and they sort of said that as well, but at the same time, it's like, well, they're obviously in their camps. They've got results in their camps, and they're getting people results in their camps. So it's just, sometimes you've got to step outside the camp and see what else is going on. Even with the podcast, like, I feel like we try to be as neutral as possible, because we don't necessarily have a camp for anything. That's the whole point of our philosophy, right? But even from episodes, people still will pick a camp that they think we're in, but we haven't at all, like, identified that this is the way. You know what I mean? People just, it's just like some sort of underlying bias that we don't even realize we have, that causes you to pick a camp. Yeah. Even if it's completely made up. And look, we might be, and that's like why I want to try and get a vast different amount of guests on to challenge our beliefs. I'm not saying we're always right and everybody should do what we say, but yeah, challenging those beliefs is a good idea as well. When's Xavier going to come on? Xavier, I said exactly the same thing. This is an official invite to come on the podcast, because I feel like he would have some really good insights. I also want to know what he's changed his mind on in the last 10 years as well. We're going to ask all these questions back to you, Xavier, when you come on. Yeah. All right. That's it. That's it.